to get back out to the guys, as well as you're going to get me that PDF as well. You know what? In the earlier session, Paul, Danny went live and went kind of on the website, and there was some cool features there that he pointed out. Don't know if you're going to do that, but there were some spec sheets and so forth. That was kind of a cool feature that we showed off on the earlier session. So with all that, Paul, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for, I know there was a bunch of logistics getting this kind of thing set up, but like we always do on Wednesday webinars, it's all about us talking to you, you being familiar with our audience and our integrators across the country. This is a national conversation, and these are the guys who can really affect moving this product forward for all of us. So Paul, I'll turn it over to you, man.
Yeah, thanks, bud. Definitely a tremendous tee up right there, and really grateful to be here. As you pointed out, it was a little bit of a challenge logistically, but excited to share with your team and your audience today. So we're going to kick off. I'll do my best to just provide kind of a high level overview on the deck. So as always, if there's questions, feel free to shoot them. Gary, happy to answer whatever pops up, especially if it's relevant to the deck, or we can hold to the end. I'll trust you with that. And then, yeah, we can absolutely take a look at the website. Kwikset.com is a great resource for collateral, Q&A, and any other support needed. But yeah, let's dive in. I'd like to really kind of just walk through a little bit of who Kwikset is as an organization. There's been a lot of noise and a lot of exciting noise, right? Especially with the recent acquisition to ASSA ABLOY. And then there's, Snap One, you guys have been a tremendous partner just throughout that and throughout the last 2 years. And I feel like we have some exciting things to share with how well we're diversifying product offering throughout the Snap One ecosystem. So we'll touch on that. We'll touch on, the growth, some opportunities to utilize smart home products and some stats that I think should provide confidence. I often hear things, there are questions related to Kwikset locks. And usually the most common one is, why should we use that? Or, do customers really want that? Yeah, even as large as property managers with tens of, 20s of thousands of properties across the U.S. still somewhat hesitant to really adopt smart home integration, and I think that portion of the deck will provide that confidence. Lastly, we'll touch on some innovative products that we have launched. We'll talk about best ways to install so we can reduce service calls. That's our ultimate goal, is for each and every single one of you guys to have the confidence in installing a product, knowing that if it's installed right the first time, you really should not have to return. And then we'll hit the Q&A. So who's Kwikset? Kwikset is the leading residential lock manufacturer since 1946. We were acquired here June of this year by ASSA ABLOY. For anyone who is not familiar with who that is, they are essentially the largest lock conglomerate globally. So I'm excited. I feel like it's a great fit. I think there's going to be a ton of synergy and shared resources. Kwikset has historically been the largest lock manufacturer in all of North America. 70 plus years in the space. We've done a fantastic job creating partnerships with builders, creating partnerships with retail. And over the last, 12 years or so, we've done a great job driving electronic locking solutions. ASSA saw that. That was a market they've struggled to penetrate, previously owning Yale, and sold Yale off to purchase us. So let's dig into a bit of what the smart home looks like. I know Snap One customers are my favorite, Gary, because you guys and gals do such a fantastic job providing what I'm showing on the screen, which is really just that full-fledged solution, right? I feel like some people create gaps, but I love using this picture as an illustrative point to really just think about the big picture. Essentially, everything in that home today that is swinging, closing, or just a mechanical experience can be converted to an automated experience, whether it's your lighting, your shades, your thermostat, your doors. And so I recognize that we're really just a part of a very big picture. but grateful to provide a great solution. It's not just Kwikset Electronics; it's Wiser up in Canada. If we have any Canadian folks, and it's Baldwin. But very strong product at that front door, and even have some product to provide peace of mind for back doors and other interior doors.
No doubt. Hey, Paul, I'm
Yeah.
looking at your first slide, I think still. We might all be looking at that. Can you check your forwarding?
Um,
And anybody hit Q&A, but what I'm seeing is that first black slide, securing your future with.
all right, hang tight 1 second.
But thank you for the kind words. And you guys remember, we're in distro in Canada as well through Staub. No, I think that we're all primed. You're going to see the questions already, not only just from the testimonial standpoint, but from, okay, I'm ready to do this. My clients are ready to do this. So I think that we're really primed, and that's why. And remember, everybody, we went through 2 weeks ago, Paul. We went through an internal training whole course with you and your company. We got refreshed, so I feel like everybody from the store standpoint is pretty well adopted right now.
Fantastic. Do you see a slide right now that says smart home with a picture of a smart home?
No, it's just securing your future, which was even from the last session, but that was the first slide. And you're not on camera. I don't know if you were turned off your camera, but if, I just want to get all this stuff. Yeah, there you go. What a smart home.
Perfect.
As long as you keep sliding through there, you don't need to be on camera, man. That's okay. I'll take care of that.
Thanks.
I'm gonna get out of here. Let's focus in on that. Now it's good. I'll let you carry on. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Yeah, so just some stats to point out, right? The smart home market is expected to exceed $240 billion for this coming year that we're about to start. And I think that's very significant, not just because that's going to be more than 100% growth since 2019, but the compound growth for the smart home space has, I think, and should provide a ton of confidence for not just product offering, but a ton of confidence for resilience in the market space, confidence in hiring, confidence in growth, right? We're really in a great vertical. Intrusion historically tends to be able to endure any economical conditions and marketplace conditions. We're pretty recession proof. But 2024 is projecting to be a pretty strong year, regardless of what happens, and especially for us. So just think about, $250 billion in the U.S. for 2024. There's a lot of money up for grabs, knowing that more than 100% of that is going to be coming from new growth. So I think that's exciting because that should give confidence that this isn't really a conversion. There's really a ton of, while there is competition, you're not necessarily competing. There's so much growth and appetite in this emerging market that really it's one of those things like real estate where, supply and demand is there, and supply is really kind of just catching up. So that I think is the most significant. Hope that provides a ton of confidence. And why thinking about branching out into the CI, providing a full-fledged smart home solution. Oftentimes, I come from an ADT world, right? And so I know that we were hyper fixated on the intrusion component, making sure bad things don't happen to good people, and going to market with this idea of, okay, what are smart home products? I think oftentimes there's confusion that a smart home product is convenience, but really smart home products are the greatest peace of mind, right? With video, we can now see who's at the door, who's in the home, who's in the yard, and make a split-second determination if they belong there or not. And if they do, then we could also provide the confidence of a one-time user code to let them in the home, or make sure the doors are locked, or if the fire alarm goes off, the medical goes off, dispatching and having peace of mind that emergency responder can have full access to all entry points of the home without needing to kick or break down doors. In the old intrusion world, a lot of customers struggled with either retention of education or just getting education on how to use their system. And that was one of the largest reasons why customers were canceling. It wasn't the product didn't work, it's that they weren't taught how to use it. So just something to think about when you're providing products, whether you're currently using smart locks or not. Have peace of mind that they're very user friendly, they're very easy to use. Big confidence, I think, in why it's still imperative to have consideration for a keyway, because if a customer, for whatever reason, does not recall how to use it, they can still get in their home without having to worry about a truck roll or a service call. But it's just as easy to unlock a smartphone as it is a smart door. And with the right education, you guys should have peace of mind knowing that this could be installed once, and the customer could easily adopt this technology. So what do these products look like? One of our top products is our 916, and this comes in every flavor, whether it is Z-Wave or standard 3.0 Zigbee or even Control 4 2.4 Zigbee. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to showcase this lock first. It addresses all protocols and all key points. It's a beautiful touchscreen with a capacitive touch. It has a lifetime warranty on hardware. So if anything was to happen to that faceplate, we'd replace it at no charge for the life of the product or the life of the install. It's up to 30 user codes, so it's a great residential solution. And at some point later this year, early next year, we're going to launch the equivalent of, or I should say, a new version of this 916 with a 250 user code capacity. So the increased user code is coming very soon. But in the immediacy, this is our forward-facing residential solution. It does have the keyway, so it's got that rekey technology. It's drill resistant, it's pick resistant, it's bump resistant, which really enhances the security at that door, especially considering if you're taking off a mechanical locking solution, whether it's Kwikset or not. We also offer our Home Connect 620. This is a new version of our 10-button push that launched, somewhere within the last 2 years. At the time of launch, this was the first smart lock with Z-Wave 700. And if anyone is not currently using Z-Wave or familiar with Z-Wave, the iteration was 500 for a very long time, 300 to 500, 500 to 700, which launched around COVID. And so a lot of companies had a lot of trepidation to adopt, and there was also a lack of resource. And we were in a place where we could strategically acquire a large amount of Z-Wave 700 chips to continue to manufacture these locks. Today, we produce close to 100,000 620s a month. And I think that's pretty significant because everything we make is built to order. So that's out the door. So this is hands down the number one locking solution on the C4 side. The older version of that would be the 914. So anyone who's familiar with installing a 914, the 620 is basically the facelift to that, with a Z-Wave chip and 250 user codes. It's S2 encryption, which makes it much more secure. And it has the ability for a master code as well, which is significant. That's something that we have not added in our previous line. And so go forward, we're going to be able to allow for that one time.
That's an amazing stat. 100,000 a month. You know, just to kind of show you what kind of business is out there. That's huge.
Yeah, and that's just in our channel. That does not include our field sales or our builder channel, where someone like Home Depot could place a stocking order like that across all of their stores through just one customer, one channel, right? So for electronics, for us, that's what we're putting out the door. Yeah, I think so too. I think it definitely speaks to the confidence factor and the relevance factor of who's actually using these.
Yep.
So in addition to Z-Wave and Zigbee, we also offer Wi-Fi locking solutions. That's our Kwikset Halo. This is one of my favorite lines, largely because I got to name it. but also because I think it's a very sleek looking lock, and it's a great solution for anyone who wants to integrate Wi-Fi into their smart ecosystem. Similar to the 620, these offer 250 user codes. They come in a touch screen with a bezeled edge, which I think looks super sharp, as you can see on the screen. There's a 10-button push, and there's also a thumbprint or biometric. And the biometric can store up to 50 different fingerprints. So really cool locks, a little bit of a different integration. And then, of course, we have Baldwin. Gary, you guys do a fantastic job bringing Baldwin connected to the market through C4. I'm constantly seeing orders come in every single month. And to me, it makes sense. From my experience, most of your integrators go to market being CI in really that mid to higher range home. And for anyone who wants to install the Cadillac version of locks, this is it. Our Baldwin line is incredible, not just in mechanical, but of course in the electronic solution. This one that you see on the screen is our Minneapolis, and it's 30 user codes. It comes in the Z-Wave chip, but also in the C4 chip. It's similar to the 916, but it's a heavy duty Baldwin locking solution, right? And anyone who knows that name knows there's a difference. I always like to say Baldwin's sort of the Rolex and Kwikset is the Tudor of the market, of the lock space, right? Or kind of like an Accord and Honda, right? Absolutely a lot of trust, reliability, and confidence in the Kwikset brand. But if you want to just take it a step up, this is that step up. So with that said, I'm sure everybody, Gary knows, right? There's going to be a transition here at some point, possibly early next year to 3.0. And I'm excited about that because I think that that's going to provide us to pull in even more products than your team has already pulled in. But it'll still be somewhat similar. So I think that's encouraging too. So it's not going to be a disruption, right? It's just going to be a complement to whatever everyone on the phone is currently using or installing. We're going to retain the 914. We're going to retain the 916. I know I've highlighted those, right? So I'm not going to continue to exhaust time on that. But those locks will remain. We'll at some point just eventually move from that 2.4 to that 3.0 chip. And I think that that's going to provide a much longer runway too. So I'm excited for that coming transition. So now that you guys know what the locks look like, have a good idea of the different model numbers and how they could be installed, or the experience that they can create, right? We're now going to move to how they could be installed. And so what you're seeing on the screen is essentially the empty box of a 620. This is pretty much everything, regardless of model, that you're going to see. You have your taper driving, adjustable driving latch. You have a battery pack in your batteries. That was a big change we made, I think, in the last like 2-3 years, where we were shipping with batteries. And then you have a bunch of screws. So if anyone's not familiar, we dropped the hex screws a while ago and moved towards all Phillips. So that Phillips screwdriver that you see on the left-hand side, that is the only tool you need. And I want to emphasize that it's a Phillips screwdriver and not a drill or an impact drill. You want to make sure that when you're installing this, everything is just hand tight. I always like to create the visual that this is the equivalent of replacing a light bulb when you're replacing a deadbolt. And so when you go to screw a light bulb in, you're not really twisting that into the socket, right? You're just turning that enough until it's firm and the light turns back on and you're good. And that light doesn't go anywhere. It's the same for this. So you just want to use a hand screwdriver, hand tight. It should be pretty solid. If you want to use a drill on low for the drive-in latch, going into the frame of the door, that's fine. But everything on the door itself should just be a screwdriver. So resources, I'm guessing this is what Danny showed everybody earlier. Like I said, we'll absolutely navigate to the website. We'll do that right now. But this is essentially what you can find. So we have a YouTube channel. in the bottom left, dedicated to all things Kwikset. You'll see everything on there from troubleshooting tutorials to installation tutorials to product reviews. And they're all roughly 2 to 3 minutes long. So great thing to store on your phone. Go to the YouTube channel, click save, share it with your team. If you're a leader on the call and you have an operations team, or you're responsible for the technicians of the install channel, I'd encourage you guys to take the time, find a video that's relevant, maybe even integrate it into a weekly meeting. Like I said, it's a short, succinct video. Most of them are under 3 minutes, so it does not require a lot of attention or time commitment, and they're straight to the point, but just chock full of great intel. And then, of course, on the website, we have a link called For the Pros, and that's where you can find your sell sheets and your collateral sheets and any leave behinds that anybody may need while they're in the home. We can also co-brand that at no charge. So if there's anybody on the phone who wants to get some branding, some co-branded literature for their showrooms or just as a leave behind, please reach out to me or any other Kwikset individual. We can absolutely get that taken care of for everybody. And I'm going to exit this. So let's hope this transition works. We'll go to the Kwikset website, and I will.
All right, we'll be standing by.
Yep.
Guys, in the meantime, and Paul, I've got 5 questions loaded up. So everybody, let's stay tuned. Let's go through this, and then we'll get to all of that. I'll just fire them off at Paul as we go.
Perfect.
We see it. Good.
Perfect. Yeah. So this is it, right? So right up here on the home page, you can see For the Pros. So you'll just want to click that, and that's going to get you absolutely everything. Like I said, it'll let you know who your sales rep is. It'll give you the customer service number. It'll give you information on rekeying, right? Even though that's something that Kwikset has had in the marketplace, there's always someone who has not used that yet, or there's always a first, right? So we welcome that. This will give you all that information. Your sell sheets, like I said, your data sheets for anybody who loves to really dive in and want to know the grading and the dimensions, or maybe they're just on a spec and they need those high level details or granular details. This is where you can go. So yeah, it's incredibly valuable stuff. If we just go to the data sheets for a second, you can see that everything here is in PDF form. If we just do Control Find, you could type the model, and then that'll immediately pull you to what you need. But here's an example of one. Obviously, this is an older 910, which we have since discontinued. The 914 essentially being that replacement. So lock model not relevant, but this is what it looks like. Super easy to save or print or digitally send out. So just a wealth of resources on the Kwikset.com page. And I definitely encourage everybody, if they're not familiar, please get familiar with it. We also do a Kwikset newsletter that you can sign up for to receive additional information. And then, of course, Snap is doing a great job marketing and promoting the Kwikset brand this week and this month. We have presence, obviously, via the Snap One website, e-commerce, but we're also in store now. So very excited about that. We'll go back to the deck here where we are almost done. Does that look good, Gary? Can you guys see this portion of the screen?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, perfect. So we were just talking about rekeying, right? So this is it. 3 very easy steps to rekey a lock. You could do this as many times as you want. I think it's a great compliment if you're on site and Kwikset hardware is already in the home. It's a great compliment to someone who just moved into a home. I'm a big fan that when you move into a home, the first thing that you should swap out is the keys, because we have no idea how many copies of keys are floating around, right? Or if the realtor, was able to return them, do they get stuck in a lockbox? Does the old homeowner still have them? So you can provide that service. You don't have to be a locksmith, but you can provide the fee. and it literally takes less than 3 seconds to accomplish. And anyone who might need a Kwikset key, um, any Kwikset key here will work, whether it's the ones in the box or using the existing customers or just getting a new Kwikset key cut and having that be the master key for the house. Um, and then, of course, being able to set up automation triggers once that lock is installed. I always like to lead with the question when you're having those discussions with the homeowner of how do you want your home to respond, or how do you want your lock to respond when you're home and when you're away. And that really gets the creative mind flowing of all the endless possibilities. That's going to help create a sticky customer. That's going to help create a very happy customer. And then you're also kind of getting to that education component too, right? But this is where you guys can have fun with all those triggers. And I really don't think anybody does it better than Snap One when it comes to setting up automation in homes. You guys dominate already. So I'd be curious, maybe you can put in the chat if there's any best practices that you guys already have when it comes to those automation scenes. We mentioned the tech support line. Of course, there's a ton of tech support troubleshooting available on the Kwikset.com website, but we do have a dedicated tech support team. They have a one-call resolution rate of about 97, 98%. And if they cannot solve it, that's usually where you could work with them to either get a replacement, or they'll redirect you to Snap, or potentially the in-store that you purchased, and we'll swap all of that out, make it as seamless as possible. And they're available for a large part of the day as well, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard, and even on Saturdays as early as 6:30. So, please feel free to use them. Feel free to state my contact information. My role with Kwikset is as national account manager. So grateful to have been able to support Snap here for the last, 3 years, I think. Yeah, Gary, that's pretty much it in terms of presentation. So very
Love the
curious.
support. Yeah, love the support, guys. And I already have seen, there's a lot of questions in here. Let's dive into some of this stuff. And as these questions get answered, guys, continue to participate in this and either help us solve or give me examples of your experiences and stuff. Couple questions right off the bat that were early on the Mortise lock. Rodrigo was asking, does Kwikset have anything for the Mortise locks? And Human was asking about any solution for multi-point locking systems and Mortise lock. What about that?
Yeah, phenomenal question. We got this was also the number one question, Gary, that we got asked at CEDIA, and by far not the first time that we've been asked this, but hands down was the number one question we got asked at CEDIA. I know that we do have an interconnected lock on our roadmap to bring to market. We do have a mortise locking solution on our non-branded electronics, but for the Kwikset brand, there's nothing to market yet. Doesn't mean we can't solve it. So I'll say I'd be curious if maybe we can get a poll going and see just how many Snap One customers would benefit from a Mortise lock. And perhaps I could work with our non-branded division to bring one of those branded over to the U.S. market.
If it's number one question, I'm sure you guys already have that in the mix or in the pipeline, right? Glad you brought it up, guys. It came up in the earlier session as well. So more dialogue to come in there. Enrique, good international question. He's in Costa Rica, and weather is hard. What do you recommend for outdoor insulation, hard rain and high temperature, etc.?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say the 620. If you're going anything Z-Wave, it has a rubber gasket. It's got the push button solution, right? So it'll definitely endure those extreme conditions. But I'll also say have confidence whatever you use. If there is a concern related to weather, and something does happen, that's the lifetime warranty. But I know for a fact our 916 is actually the number one lock deployed in Canada. So I was like, say, if it could endure those conditions, I think it could endure almost anywhere. And then there's a ton of 916 that gets installed in places, like Florida, right? So there's a lot of hot heat, there's a lot of humidity, there's a lot of hurricanes, and I've not really seen a return rate higher in those locations compared to locations that don't have those weather elements. Our engineering team does a fantastic job of doing in-house testing. I think that's another, brand differentiator. I don't know any other lock manufacturer, whether they're in the U.S. Or not, that actually does their own on-site testing. And so we make sure to do, wind, weather, sand, and everything passes our internal testing in addition to getting the external graded testing before we come to market.
Yeah, and Chris is following that up with, cold, snow, ice freezing, buttons causing problems with touching anything like that. But, I think that, just geographically between, Montreal and Naples, Florida, you're pretty much getting the extremes that Enrique might have been talking about in Costa Rica, right? And you would see that rate. But, I think that everybody just kind of wants to know those questions. And, are there, you know, different practices that we can kind of go through to even, give confidence to the customer, right? That the testing, et cetera, if there's anything else that you are a little secret, conditioning things that the guys would like to keep in mind. Who knows?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, right? And it's very relevant because that's Enrique's market. I would also encourage to, have confidence that all of the electronics of the lock is on the other side of the door, right? It's inside the home. So as long as the customer, is maintaining a relatively regular temp in the home, and this is also where in my mind, Gary, I started off as a sales guy doing in-home sales, right, with security systems. So when I go back 12 years ago to that role, I get excited when I hear these questions because I'm like, man, every question has a solution, right? And every question is one step closer to a yes. So if I was to put myself in the shoes and a customer asked like that, this is why it's so imperative for us to install a smart thermostat. This is why it's so imperative for us to install the video at the front door, right? So we could see what the weather impact looks like at that door before you even get out of the car or even turn on your street, right? Because sometimes it could be raining, but if there's a porch or an overhang, it's not so bad. Or it could just be a light rain, but there's wind slamming against that door, right? So we can give you the eyes and ears to all that. We could put all the controls in your hand with your smart device, and more importantly, when you get home, you could just take your phone out and unlock that door without having to interact with the door itself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, beautiful
So
thing.
all of that will function regardless of what the weather temp is.
No, I like that when your analogy of 12 years ago where we were in terms of the custom integration market, and it does feel satisfying that any of these questions and or concerns are all leading us in the right direction, right? And by this time next year, that number will be 200,000 a month. No, I'm just teasing. But hey, Chris Gentry, does Wi-Fi locks require more frequent battery changes compared to Z-Wave?
Oh, Chris, that is a perfect question. And the short and painful answer is yes. Yes, they do. I'm very confident that we will have successfully gotten in front of that. We are in our third generation of Halo, which has only been in the market for 4.5 years, I believe. But we're going to launch our third generation Halo line sometime next year, and that will address the battery drainage issue. But yes, Wi-Fi tends to be Wi-Fi is sort of the hair salon of protocols. They're very chatty, and that does drain a lot of batteries.
Any preferences on power there, Bud? Like, sometimes it's like, hey, you guys use the cheapest and it's fine. Any testing with that? Any results?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes. Duracell copper top
Yeah.
provides the best life when we've done testing. Stay away from Amazon branded batteries. Those were the lowest. Rayovac, not so hot, and that used to be our internals, but not terrible. But when it comes to just an alkaline, I think if I remember, it was Duracell copper top was number one, and then I forget the last two. I want to say it was then Rayovac, and then an Energizer line or an Energizer and then Rayovac. So any one of those three brands, um, you'll be in the best possible spot.
Well, and
And then
the Costco brand everybody's got, and just by default of that, it's just being accessible and cheap. How do those do? And if the customer's like, it's fine, your medium size, powered battery and so forth, but you have done testing on them. Who knows?
yeah, I know every time we've done testing, the three best brands that come back is Duracell, Rayovac, and Energizer. But Duracell number one, like by leaps and bounds, right?
All right, good to
So
know.
yeah, I'd go with that, and then also the back plate. If anyone has not installed our locks for a while, we've by removing that hex and going to Phillips, the back plate now slides up. You don't need a tool anymore. It's the same equivalency of taking batteries out of a TV remote, right? So that pack, that black plate just slides up with a little thumb pressure, and you could get to the battery pack. So also, good peace of mind post install. Educate your customer on that, and they should be able to tackle that on their own. And as long as you're using an alkaline battery and not a lithium, you're going to have at least 2 months when they get that low battery before it fully dies. And as long as they replace it within those 2 months, they'll get in front of any battery leakage, because unfortunately that's the consequence of an alkaline battery. If it sits too long, it's going to leak, it's going to erode.
Earlier Danny had referred to, and you had it in your picture, using a manual screwdriver, right? Where we can.
Yes, yes, yep.
Hey, Rodrigo, any plans to be compatible with Apple Home since it's like Apple Week? Paul, did I lose you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Any regarding Apple Home?
Yeah, any plans
Yes.
to be compatible with Apple Home?
Yeah, we were previously. We had a line called Premise, and at that time it was, if I recall, I think it was just Kwikset and Schlage were the only Apple HomeKit players. Um, yes, there's always talks with Apple, right? We'd be foolish not to. Last I checked, they're still the largest company in the U.S. But I think that it's kind of a pause and wait, especially with the deployment of Matter. Um, Not really sure where the Apple ecosystem is going to exist. And let's also be honest, right? As fantastic as Apple is, they're definitely a moderately fast follow to the market, and sometimes they're okay with uh, a very slow adoption rate, and that's kind of what we've seen with Apple HomeKit since deployment is uh, many more people are familiar with the Alexas and the Samsungs of the world than they are Apple. So
Got it.
just not enough market share yet.
Human asked, rekeying is comparable with Wiser too? You have that
Yeah,
question? Okay.
it is. Yeah. Uh, Everything Kwikset related is essentially Wiser in Canada. When Spectrum had acquired the Wiser brand, we eventually replaced all of the hardware with Kwikset, but just maintained the name.
Chris is adding, are there videos on YouTube channel? Do you have a YouTube channel? I'm not sure if you do, but he's looking to show the app UI.
Yeah, yeah, we do. Very good
Or do you
question.
have videos where that a dealer resource was?
Yep. So right here, I had there's a screenshot. Can you see my screen still?
Yep.
Here,
Yep.
perfect. Yep, yep. So
Got it.
there's
There you
a
go.
dedicated Kwikset web page on YouTube, and those videos are absolutely fantastic.
Cool.
I've used
Good to know.
those to learn my product. So, and like I mentioned earlier, they're short, succinct, and right to the point. Very palatable.
And you know what? You're going to find this video that we're recording today on our YouTube channel for local and for all of our webinars. So there you go.
Oh,
Okay,
fantastic.
Shannon, he's one of our guys, actually. But what's the demo deal for partners who want working demo in the showroom and also want other brands that fall under Kwikset?
Yeah, just shoot me a note. Let me know what you need, and we'll happily get out whatever you need at no charge.
Cool. Thanks, Shannon. Let's follow up on that. Shannon also had written, what about partnering with other manufacturers with a coupon percentage with companies like Ring or whoever? Is there any kind of deal that you're already doing some cross promotion or cross compatibility with?
Oh, that's a good question. I will say the short answer is no. It's there just creates some complexity with how that shows up um, with distribution. Doing
Yeah,
certain
understood. Yeah, I mean it gets dicey whether it's
it
retail or
it does, yeah, yeah. In store in retail that would probably work. Now that Snap has right, Gary. Now that you guys are successfully brick and mortar, in the future, do I think that there's a play there and a high possibility? Yes, absolutely.
yep,
But I will say this: we made it a point early on, and especially with this launch to retail, to get the best possible pricing and to continue to find ways to be as aggressive as possible. And so just trust that when you see a Kwikset lock or Velvet lock on the shelf or online, you're already getting an incredible offer, whether that's bundles or not. But yeah, good question. I know that was a long answer, but good question. So
well,
sometimes
it's
partnering with
we
a written and
yeah,
say, hey, right, like let's get our customers a rebate. Um, it, that's not always an easy ask. We have a high appetite for that. Our peer leaders in the space don't always or don't always want to give the same percentage, and it just gets complicated.
of course, of course. And this is, obviously our partners are out there that are asking these questions in a sense too, and they're being bombarded with trying to decipher what the best deal is and so forth. Hey guys, when you mentioned the brick and mortar thing, I love that, and we're constantly expanding into your areas, guys. This particular conversation originates from our partner stores. There's 42, Paul, 42 of them. So yeah, we keep expanding, and we want that to be your first option. And you acquiring your Snap points with that, that's also an incentive as well. So we do what we can, and this is one of our the advantages of having the brick and mortar stores or having local is these third party brands, if you will, and how compatible they are. And you know, Chris, you're a good example, or Shannon, we're here to help you, define exactly what you can do and look at margins and the whole bigger picture there. So anyway, stay tuned. Rodrigo, does the Wi-Fi version of Kwikset support geofencing?
Not yet. I believe that is integrated on the third generation of Halo.
Got it. Enrique, if the door is more wide than standard, what's the solution? Good question, I guess, in a sense that what does anything differ with different widths and door sizes, huh?
Yep, very good question. So if you go back to the kwikset.com webpage and click data sheets, you can see the dimensions. If you need what's called a thick door kit, we do have a couple different options. Reach out to Snap One, let them know. I am pretty confident we've provided those before, but we could ship those at no charge.
Chris is asking, okay, so is there an outside battery terminals that you can energize with a 9 volt when there's a dead battery inside? You might want to
Yeah, good,
elaborate with what you've seen. Like, does that happen? And that's the only way to kind of or awaken something in the mechanism.
very good question. um, so on our Obsidian, we did. Uh, that is all I'm going to draw. I'm going to doodle on the screen again. Hopefully, right here
Okay, yeah.
is our Obsidian lock. Right. we unfortunately we are no longer manufacturing that lock, but every other lock that we have in market still has the keyway, which in my mind is much more reliable than finding a 9 volt. I don't know anyone who hides a 9 volt. I know plenty of people who hide a key, right? Even if they don't want to carry it. So um, if someone was to get locked out, you always have the keyway. It'll still function as a deadbolt in that capacity. If if you have used the Obsidian in the past, then you'll know we did integrate the 9 volt terminals underneath the touchscreen for that scenario. But it's just not a highly. I know there's an appetite for it from what I've seen, whether it's single family operators, multifamily operators, or just a single family homeowner. Nothing beats a key. Even your vehicle in your fob is still a key for an emergency. It's not a battery, right? If that fob locks you out, you can still get in with a key. And so, as much as I know I like to think that keys are dead, they're really such a tremendous backup.
Yeah, no, I think it's just a perspective of quick fix and tool belts and like, okay, what, I got to get in here. What do I do?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He also follows it up. Okay, here's a kind of a generalized question from Chris. It's our last question, but what's your take? What's your hook? Is there something Kwikset locks do or the app does better than the competitors? I mean, what from your perspective, what's your diehard hook?
Yeah, I think there's more than one. That's such a great question. I think there's more than one, right? One, Kwikset has been in the market for over 70 years. So there's a reputation there. Two, and the most relevant, ASA wrote a $4.2 billion check to buy us. Part of the clause from the US government included the concern for redundancy, which in layman's terms, they had to sell Yale in order to get the green light. They sold Yale for 780 million and then wrote a 4.2 billion dollar check for Kwikset. So I think that in and of itself should show the value or valuation, right, of the Kwikset brand in the market versus a competitor. And now we're under ASA, right? And so there's going to be a tremendous amount of expansion in resource, pace to market, innovation. Um, and we're also launching Kwikset Unite, which is a multifamily solution, right? So what are some of the differentiators? I think Kwikset has historically been more of a slower follower when it comes to the technology side of innovation. But man, in the last couple of years, we've done a fantastic job of finally catching up and even going, speeding ahead. So Kwikset Unite is a multifamily solution that's a cloud to cloud. We offer third-party integration. There's no RMR fee on that versus some other organizations like Schlag who bake in an RMR. We're not phone, fob, and card credentials, full suite of products to provide a full EAC solution. And then on the Kwikset electronic line that we walk through, right? There's 75 years in the space. It's patent pending for rekey. It's the only smart lock you can rekey. It is the only smart lock that is pick resistant, drill resistant, and bump resistant. So if you're thinking safety or your customer's thinking safety, you got peace of mind knowing that, hey, what's the difference between a Kwikset smart lock and another smart lock? Well, it's pick resistant, it's drill resistant, it's bump proof. We could rekey it so there's no future costs. If you do get locked out, you can still get locked in with a key. If you sell it or decide to rent it, we could swap those keys out for dollars, not hundreds of dollars. A locksmith charges anywhere from $180 to $220 just to show up. And then they charge an additional fee per door, per key, per pin and tumbler. You go to Home Depot and get a key for $1.50, and then that could be your new key. So I think those are some. And then of course we offer Baldwin, right? So not many smart lock providers have sort of a two-tier offering. Some of them tend to be pretty static, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? If we didn't have Baldwin, that would be us as well. But having Baldwin, I think, is also a differentiator, right? So we kind of have that really strong solution in the residential space. Kwikset is offered everywhere, whether it's a DR Horton Home, a Home Depot store, or Snap One, and obviously different flavors, right? But Kwikset pretty much is in 7 out of 10 homes in the U.S. And so if you're swapping off that deadbolt to put a new deadbolt on, you're either taking off a Kwikset deadbolt or a Schlag deadbolt. And so I would highly suggest that, at minimum, that should be the experience of, hey, if I'm not replacing this with Kwikset or Schlag, you're probably missing out or even making the installation harder than it needs to be.
Good points. And I don't mean to, make you go do the elevated pitch to all of us. I think we're all proponents of it, but it's true. And I appreciate your confidence and your perspective. It's valuable for us. I really appreciate it. Hey, Jesus, really quick. How do you know if the batteries are low? What's the indicator there?
Yeah, good question, Jesus. So on the lock, there's an LED that's going to beep and it's going to flash red. And then, of course, your customers will get notified via the app as well. So multi points of contact to communicate that. And then eventually, as we move towards launching our new products, like our Halo Gen 3 is going to have this. Our new touchscreen, when that launches, it's going to have it as well. It's also going to have a battery icon on the front touch portion of the lock, just like a smartphone does.
Got it. All right. I'm going to give 5 minutes back to their day. Awesome job, Paul. And make sure you tell Danny as well. Get me the slide deck. And hey, we didn't draw and do all this cool stuff on the first session. So you guys got some special points on this, but I appreciate it, Paul. Like I said, I think our team is well versed right now, like in the moment with Kwikset. 42 Snap One partner stores out there, guys. I hope each and every one of you are visiting them and or have a relationship with them, whether you're ordering on Snap Ecom or you, like I said, you're able to peer in and see inventory at the locations. If there's anything that you guys need regarding, hey, I haven't had contact with my local store, let me know. Like I said, 42 of them. They're all over the place. We keep building more. I'll be in San Jose in a couple of weeks, opening up that location. And then in a couple of days after that, we're in Raleigh, North Carolina, with a brand new location just south of Charlotte. So hey, Paul, I'll see you in a location, I'm sure, at some point. Make sure that we're driving traffic that way. It's certainly a great experience. It's nothing new. I always say that, our partner stores it's a great environment to be in. It's self-shop. You have a number of different ways to check inventory and get support and really approach categorically. If you haven't been down this path before, we want you to make profit. We want you to have this and offer this, as Paul said, as a category for you going forward. So we're there for that support, and we got a great partner in Kwikset, that's for sure. See another one question. Thank you for an informative session today. Thanks, Mark. Thank you very much for joining. Hey guys, check my events section. I'm always doing webinars each and every week. They're usually on Wednesdays. Paul, fantastic job to you and your team. There you go. There's your round of applause, man. Appreciate it,
Thanks.
man.
Yeah.
I'll get out to everybody who not only who joined us today, but who registered as well. You're going to get the recording and the slide deck from me. So from everybody, from all of us at Snap One Local, thank you guys so much for joining. Paul and your team, thank you so much. I know it's busy. You got the security show. You just got back from CEDIA, but it's an endeavor that we're all involved in. So let's grow this business, and I really appreciate everybody's support. We'll see you guys next time from all of us at Snap One Partner Stores. Appreciate it. Be safe out there, guys. Thanks.